Today, I'm going to share with you the purpose of 6 marketing assets your company should have and should be using. These are not magical marketing assets, right? They're fundamental marketing assets for government contractors in the federal marketing space. If you don't know who I am, by the way, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to the daily live federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. We did last year over 180 live trainings like this, and that was watched over 500,000 times. As we go forward, I'm going to be live each weekday at noon, and I hope you join me if you can. Otherwise, you can watch the replays. But before we get started, do me a favor, in the chat, put your company name so that people know who you are, buyers know who you are, and put 2 or 3 words to describe your core competency if you have it. Finally, grow your network. The people in this training, the people in the chat are always open to connections, right? If you're not open to connections, you're just in the wrong training. I'll just tell you that. We are a community of people who want to help, and we welcome you coming in. Engage with the people in the community. Build relationships. Don't sell so much, but build relationships. And if you're in YouTube or Facebook, etc., watching our stuff, come into LinkedIn, connect with me, reach out to the others and build relationships and connect with them. Many of the people in here are telling you that they're open to connections, and one of the easiest places to have the connections in this community is in LinkedIn. So definitely engage with your peers in here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 6 marketing assets, and unless you're brand new to government contracting, none of these marketing assets are new. What I'm hoping to provide you that's a little bit new today is a take on the purpose for each one of these assets, these marketing assets, and how they're used by your federal buyers, right? Your customers. And so I'm going to go into them, but just really quickly telling you what those 6 marketing assets are so you have it in your head as we go forward. The small business profile, which is made up of SAM and DSBS, is the #1 marketing tool. The second one is capability statement. Third one is your website. The 4th and the 5th are LinkedIn, your personal profile and your company profile. And number 6 is your capabilities briefing deck. Each one of these 6 marketing assets have a purpose. And I'm going to walk you through today. I'm going to track the time. We got about 22 minutes. These 6 marketing assets, I'm going to try to give you a purpose and demonstrate to you how they're used by the buyer, by other people, and why you want to pay attention to that. So let's start off with the first marketing asset, your small business profile. Your small business profile is made up of 2 databases, right? The sam.gov website where you register your company when you start, right? And then the dynamic small business search, or DSBS. These 2 tools are managed by GSA and SBA, and when they come together, they make up your small business profile. Its purpose is to help get you found and get you on a short list. That's the whole purpose of DSBS, get you found and get you on a short list. If a market researcher is looking for companies like yours and they see your small business profile, you want them to go, let me put them on my short list so I can look at them later, compared to them saying, nah, right? Which do you want, short list or nah? I know what you want, right? You want the short list. So let's walk through the small business profile. One of the biggest challenges I have talking to people, especially the longer you've been in business, about the small business profile is people kind of dismiss it as, oh, that's what newbie small businesses do when they enter the government contracting market. And the problem with this is they don't understand the purpose. You might not understand the purpose and the value of this tool. And if you did, you would go back and say, we are not going to miss out on this tool, and we're going to make sure we look at it every 6 months. And so when I say the purpose of the small business profile is to get found and get put on a short list, what do I mean? What's that process? Let me walk you through the process, and then I'm going to give you a couple of fields you should write down that you should go check. So let's talk about the process first. In the federal market, we have market researchers, right? When the government buyer is looking for small businesses or large primes are looking for small businesses, they can go into the dynamic small business search and find companies like yours. The way they do this search is first they just type in a keyword, just like they would in Google, right? They can search all sorts of other fields like NAICS codes. They could put in 541, 511. The problem with that is it returns too many results to them. So they have to figure out a way to narrow it down. And the easiest way to narrow search down is by using a keyword. So they type in a keyword, and let's say SharePoint. Today's going to be SharePoint, apparently, my example. But they type in SharePoint into this small business search tool, or DSBS, and all these results come back from companies like yours. When the results come back, there's one particular field that they look at to decide if they want to put you on a short list to continue looking at you. And by the way, for the next few minutes, they're going to keep shortlisting you. So if you come back, you're on a short list compared to originally there's 300,000 companies, they type SharePoint. Now there's, let's say, 50,000, and they're going to shortlist it even further. And the first field they look at is a field called the capability narratives field. This is the field that answers the question, what do you do? And if they searched for SharePoint, what they're looking for is a narrative that says, we are a SharePoint company. We are a Microsoft 365 company, things like that. But if they search for SharePoint and they see Oracle or they see construction, they just put you on the NA list, the no list, right? They don't move you over. But if they look at your narrative and it says something related to we're experts at SharePoint and Microsoft products, then they go, let's put them on the short list and look at them further. The second main thing that they look at, and this is not a training that's going to go deep into DSBS, but the second main thing they look for is down at the bottom of your profile is your past performance and experience. What they want to do is to search on the word SharePoint, look at your narrative and see, they describe themselves as a SharePoint company. I want to keep looking. So you've shortlisted a little bit. And now they go to the bottom and they say, has this company done SharePoint work for anybody? It doesn't even really matter who yet. So when they go down there, they want to see, have you done it for commercial, state and local, federal in particular, my agency in even more particularity, right? And so they're looking at the bottom for experience. When you look at that marketing asset and you know that asset, its purpose is to help you get found and put on the short list, if you don't have keywords, you won't get found. If you don't have a narrative and experience that screams to the keywords you're getting found for, you will not get shortlisted. So go look at that marketing asset and make sure that it's good to go. So that's the first one, your small business profile. If you're tracking, just put small business profile into the chat. So the second one, and this is another one that I think every single person knows, but do you know the purpose, right? The second one is your capability statement. In this particular case, the purpose of a capability statement, in my opinion and experience, is to get a meeting or an introduction to somebody else. So a capability statement is not a white paper. It's not an informative document designed to teach somebody about a lot of stuff. We often have too many words on our capability statement. A capabilities statement, its whole job is when somebody looks at it, they go, sure, I'll talk to you. I'll give you the meeting. Or if they look at it, they go, oh, you don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to Jane because Jane does SharePoint. Cool. But in a few seconds, they were able to determine that, whether they wanted to meet with you or whether they knew who they could refer you to or introduce you to, right? That's the whole purpose of the capability statement. It is not some spectacular tool. Its job is to get me the meeting and get out of my way kind of thing. And so let's talk about how that happens with the capability statement with a market researcher or with a small business professional or anybody else on the buyer side or the large prime side or even your small business teammates. When somebody looks at your capability statement, the first rule that you want to follow is that they must be able to figure out in 6 seconds exactly what you do and where you've done it before, or if you've done it before, right? If you're new to federal contracting, don't overly worry about it because the people you should be targeting are the ones you tell, hey, I don't have a lot of federal experience, but I'm really good at SharePoint. It's like, that's cool. Come on in. But when you have past performance, it needs to be obvious to the person looking at your capability statement that this is my core competency. I do SharePoint related services. And down here is my past performance showing where I've done this. I did a migration for Air Force. I did something for Visa. I've done this, whatever it is, quickly in 6 seconds or less, somebody can look at that and figure out what it is. And so the first rule is they need to be able to figure out what you do in 6 seconds, right? That's why I say in the chat, put 2 or 3 words that is your core competency. There's a whole separate training I'm going to do about how do you expand from a tight competency into a lot of different work. But if you start with a lot, we get confused, the people who read it. But when you're really tight, I get what you do. I know how I can help you. I can either help you myself or introduce you. So the second rule after the 6-second rule is your capability statement needs to be in a Z format. Remember this and go find training on my YouTube channel or other places. But the idea of a Z format is that when we read, and I don't know if my fingers are going the right direction, but when we read left to right and then down to the next line, left and right. Imagine just a paragraph. You're just reading across in a Z format. That's how we read. And so a capability statement, expand the Z to one big Z. Your most important information goes across the top. If you're an 8A firm, you put that logo up there, right? Some key things that are up there. Your cage code and your UEI go at the very top. Your least important stuff go at the very bottom, the last place people are looking. Your NAICS codes, your contact information. What does anybody need your contact information for if you haven't attracted them with what your core competency is and other stuff? So the Z format, you want to come across the top with your most important company information. And then in this top right-hand corner, I say, put your core competency. The bottom left-hand corner, and I don't know if my camera is reversed here, but the bottom left-hand corner is your past performance. And that gives them a Z format to come across and go, oh, you're an 8A company, you're on stars 3, here's your core competency, here's where you've done it before, perfect, I know what you do. Like in 2 or 3 seconds, they were able to do that, right? In 6 seconds gives them a chance to look all around. Follow those 2 rules on your capability statement. Go back and look at your capability statement and say, is it communicating in 6 seconds or less what we do? And don't answer it yourself, by the way. Give it to somebody who doesn't know what you do and ask them, does it tell you in 6 seconds or less what we do? And then the second thing is make sure it follows a Z format. Help people read it. By the way, that Z format, that whole idea I got because everything that makes me an expert is something I've heard, right? I don't want to pretend like I'm some innovator. That came from Department of Energy. Lonnie McRae was a small business specialist out there, and she taught me this thing. And then several other small business people said it, but it made so much sense when I heard it. I'm like, perfect. So this advice that I'm giving you is coming from the people who are consuming this marketing asset of yours. So the capability statement, remember, its purpose is to get you a meeting or get you an introduction. So if that makes sense, get me a meeting in the chat. Let me know you're tracking on that. Okay, and I'm going to move forward pretty fast through the next couple of ones. Those two marketing assets, your DSBS profile, your small business profile, and capability statement are the 2 most important marketing assets in your entire company. Don't let anybody come in and talk to you about branding and color coding and all this other stuff. That's not how the federal market works. The federal market works through relationships and discussions. These tools are designed to just get you into those discussions, right? No marketing asset is going to win you business. The only thing that's really going to win you business is a winning proposal that gets chosen, right? So everything else is designed to support that activity. So these marketing assets, if you understand their purpose, DSBS small business profile, get found, right? Get on the short list. Capability statement, get a meeting, get an introduction. And so the third one is your company website. The purpose of the company website is really minimal to me. Its whole job is just to validate that your company is real. People want to come in here and take a look at your website and say, is this company real? Do they do what they said they're doing? But if you tracked your analytics, your data, you would find not many people actually visit your website, right? So I tell people, don't go crazy in your website. Unless you're going to be creating blogs that are super helpful, don't worry about the rest because it's just marketing that most people won't read. But when somebody comes in, they're looking for a couple of key things in your website that you want to make sure you're tracking on. So the very first and most important thing you need to make sure is on your website, on every page, is your UEI and your cage code. It does 2 things. First, it says that, hey, I'm registered in SAM. I'm all good, right? It's a really small subliminal thing, but it's saying I'm in the game, right? I'm in SAM. You can go find me. The second thing is anybody who can get your UEI and your cage code can now go do due diligence on you. They can look in the DSBS tool to find you and to learn more about you. They can go to FPDS and research you, USA Spending, CPARS. They can go in and do research on you by those 2 things. Don't hide those numbers. Put them in the header every single page or the footer every single page, but make it easy on every single page for your buyers and your teammates to find your information. And those 2 pieces of information are more important than anything else you probably have on there because it allows them to go research. The second thing is you want to mimic your capability statement on your website. So if you're saying these are my core competencies on your capability statement, then when you have like a services page or products page, it should mimic that. It doesn't have to look exactly the same, but the message has to be the same. We are that SharePoint company. Remember that example, right? We're a SharePoint company. When you come to our website, you can see some basic information. Market researchers tend not to spend a whole lot of time in there. Program offices, if they're learning from you, if you've turned your website into a place they can find additional valuable information, they'll come in, but you want to hit the basics. And so cage code, UEI, top, The second most important thing to have on your website, right? Forget about all this other stuff, is your capability statement. Don't make it so hard for people to find your capability statement. And so put that thing right on the home page. Consider putting that in the footer of every single page, or the header in the menu that just says capability statement. You're in the federal government contracting world. Capability statement is our calling card. Don't make your calling card hard to find. Make it very easy to find. Then you can do all this secondary stuff of having additional services, pages, white papers, blogs, news. All of that sounds cool, but make sure you knock out the most important stuff first. Last tip for you on the website is make sure you hyperlink everything that can be hyperlinked. For example, your UEI and your cage code, hyperlink them to DSBS. So if somebody clicks on it, they go. If you're a SDVO company, hyperlink your SDVO logo back to the vet biz or whatever that is, where they validate that, yes, you're a legitimate service disabled veteran-owned company. If you're on a contract vehicle, that they can go to a place and research it more, just hyperlink that contract vehicle like your GSA mass schedule, hyperlink it right back to your page in GSA. Make it easy. Remove the friction for people doing market research on you. Okay, so that one was the website, and its primary purpose is to validate your company is real. So they're coming in looking for it. So if you understand that, just say validation into the chat. Let me know you're tracking on that one. As I move into the next two, which are LinkedIn, your personal profile, and LinkedIn, your company profile. So we're cruising through here. We've got 6 marketing assets. Let me just refresh them really quick. The most important one is your small business profile, which is SAM and DSBS. Your second one, your capability statement. Your third one, your website. Your fourth one is your LinkedIn personal profile. And the purpose of this is, in my opinion, right, is that it helps people know, like, and trust you. You may have heard a lot of us say that people do business with those they know, like, and trust. You might have also heard people talk about in the federal space, it's relationship. I actually think everything's relationship. At church, it's relationships, right? Relationship building is important to any community that we're in. And in the federal market, it's very important to have good relationships with teammates, with buyers, et cetera. And LinkedIn is one way to help build that relationship. You're not going to have any relationships if people don't know who you are, right? So LinkedIn is one way for you to begin to have activity out there. If you had seen yesterday's training, I think I talked about how to engage on LinkedIn. But when somebody comes into LinkedIn, a couple of things I want to point out to you for your profile to make it easy for market researchers in the federal space and your teammates to do additional, to go additional places and to learn additional pieces of information about you. First thing is make sure you put your capability statement into your LinkedIn profile. Your capability statement is just a PDF, right? So you can add it down into the experience section as a media. You can also add it into the featured section of LinkedIn. Put it in both places. Don't hold back on it, right? And a third place you might consider putting it, or at least a link to your website, is up at the top of your profile in LinkedIn, under your name and under your city, I think, is a link that you can put there with a name, and you can put in the words like, GovCon Chambers capability statement, right? I could put that in and then hyperlink it back to my website. So right on my profile, when people land, they're able to see my capability statement in 3 different places. I'm getting it to them. I'm removing friction for them finding my capability statement. I don't want to go too far into the about section because I only got a few minutes left, but in the about section, you want to take a lot of your capability statement and kind of regurgitate it. A lot of what you put into your small business profile fields, right? Bring that and put it into the about section. When you're in LinkedIn, you don't have to create all new content to describe what your company does or what you do. You can use some of these other marketing assets you've had that are earlier and bring it into your profile. The last thing I want to mention is that on your banner, one thing to consider, 2 things I want to mention. Your banner, when somebody lands on your profile in LinkedIn, they see your banner, and instantly they're going to learn something about you. We can either make our banner tell them nothing, or we can make it discourage them to say, oh, I was coming here to see SharePoint, but I see tractors. You must be construction, right? That's discouraging. Or we can encourage them to go further into our profile. So if I'm a SharePoint company, I might have Microsoft related stuff in my banner, that picture at the top. So go ahead and put that in there. And the last tip on LinkedIn is make sure your headline says something that tells people what your company does. Don't leave it just say business developer or CEO of this company, right? Put something in there like government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When I put that in my headline, the people who care about process and want to learn more now want to learn more about my profile. And I want the same for you on that marketing asset. Okay, so that one was the personal profile, real fast, right? But you want to pay attention. The next one is your LinkedIn company profile. The biggest thing about this is it's another validation on a social media platform that your company is real, right? So if you've got content that you're sharing out there, your company can begin to have followers and engaging. So if you've got more and more employees, you guys might be driving people back to your personal profile or your company page. So these two work together. I'm not going to go too far into it, but one of the easiest ways to keep it up and running and people liking it is use your capability statement content into that profile page for your company. And then some of the content you share, it should be valuable content that's related to what your company does. Try not to share things that aren't related to what you sell. Otherwise, people will get confused on why they're coming to that page. The last marketing asset that I want to mention, and I'll just mention this pretty quickly, but I'll also have a whole training on this, is the capability briefing deck. And I just want to make sure you understand the purpose. The purpose of the capability briefing deck is to start a conversation. Sometimes we go in and we feel like we've got this deck and we're going to an hour meeting and we're going to brief for 30 minutes or more. No, my recommendation is you should brief for 5 to 10 minutes max. And the goal of this briefing deck is to get a lot of thoughts in the other person's head about, well, tell me more about this, tell me more about that. And so I have a whole framework that just talks about how can you fill out a briefing deck and go through it pretty quickly. But the thing I want you to just keep in mind is that purpose. Its purpose of a briefing deck, a PowerPoint slides deck, right? When you go into a meeting, it's to get the other person to talk. It's not to allow you to talk for a long time without having to think new. You want to engage the buyer in conversations, learn about their goals and their challenges, talk about potential solutions and have them tell you they're great solutions or nah, not really a fit for us. Learn. Well, that only comes from conversations, not from briefing somebody. And so that briefing deck, yes, you need it, but keep in mind its purpose is to get the conversation started in a meeting, not to fill out the whole time. I know I'm doing like this fire hose thing, but just a recap really quick. We talked about the 6 marketing assets and their purpose, right? Here's my tip for you walking away from today's training, something you can do from this information you just listened to, right? Spend 30 minutes, just schedule 30 minutes and go check on these 6 marketing assets. Where are you based on the tips I said? How well are your marketing assets prepared? And from that 30-minute activity, just create a set of tasks for yourself and your teammates or your colleagues to go improve those marketing assets in the direction you want based on some of the guidance I gave you for the purpose. Hopefully that made sense. If you'd like to work with me or my team, we have a BD Accelerator workshop. We'd love to work with you. If you're over $1 million in revenue, that's the right stage for us to be helping people. If you want to learn more, just message me on LinkedIn. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process are these 6 marketing assets. Part of the other process is coming back to the next training. So I'll see you in the next training.